Hello, everyone. Dr. Victoria Skirbo here, speaking to you from the Seeds of Transformation Healing Center in Wareham, Massachusetts. It is time for Moon Shadows with my one and only Ona. Hello, Ona.
Hello. You know what I noticed on the bar underneath? It says Ona Oracle, but my channel is actually Ona's Tarot. So
You're gonna have to change
next
that.
time I'll change that. For Moonshine, we'll change that. I'll change it.
And mine just says my name, which doesn't say anything. So maybe I'll give myself something exotic.
Yeah, for the new moon.
For the new moon. So we have a new moon in Virgo. Ona and I were just talking about how crazy it's been. And we attribute that to Mars in Gemini. That's what we're attributing that to. And of course, Mars in Gemini is very active in this new moon chart. When we look at it, we'll see. But Mars is going to be in Gemini until March of 2023. So we have a lot of time with this Mars in Gemini energy. The other day, I was sitting here doing some work, and there was a car accident right in front of my house. Somebody was trying to pull out of their driveway, which is very difficult on this road for anybody who lives on this road. And a motorcycle crashed right into the side of the truck. And you know, the guy like fell off his bike. He was moaning. It was really kind of scary. But then
I've been very careful watching, honestly, it has, since Mars has gone into Gemini, and we've talked about this. There's been a lot of accidents around here, not the typical like fender bender kind of thing, but like trucks running into buildings and car fire. And there was a suicide that was very close to here. A guy killed himself in the car. All this stuff was blocked off. And we had a shooting yesterday outside of high school here. While the kids were still in school, it was a drive-by, but when the story broke, it was a school shooting, right? That initial thing was, I mean, it's right across the street. So it is this flavor of panicking, and we talked about this too. Like I think that's what I'm smelling, you know, the gases, it's like the earth opened up to let me know, pay attention to what's coming out of it, right? And make a connection and observe and see what's going on. And there's a tension, there's a panicky feeling to this energy.
Well, you know, it's interesting because Virgo in its way is a little bit of an anxious sign. There's a lot of anxiety in Virgo because Virgo sees what needs to be done and certainly endeavors to do it, but it can be a little bit on the anxious side. It is a Mercury ruled sign. So and with Virgo, and I think especially now, we have to be very acutely aware of our nervous system, especially with Mars in Gemini. Very easy to burn yourself out. Overwork or overthink.
Overthinking and bracing thoughts is an issue. That's so funny because, you know, I have neuropathy from chemotherapy, and yesterday my car was so hot that I had to stop twice to go into a cool store. And my feet last night, they were just felt like one was through the roof and one was through the ground. I mean, they were just awful because the setup was the heat in the car, and it just took a long time to return back to, oh my gosh, it was awful. So I got the Freon loaded in my car today. Again, the gases, right?
Right. Although they don't do Freon anymore. It's another chemical.
I don't know what it is that they use, but it is very regulated. My car is a 2010. So whatever poison they need to put in there.
Right.
You
I
know,
don't think
tested
they,
on the way home, and it's like the gases. There it is. There it is again in my face. I'm like, all right, interesting.
well, and Virgo does rule the intestine, and if there's anything that creates gas.
I'm drinking bubbly water too.
All right, so I thought maybe we could take a look at the chart. Does that sound good to you?
Yeah,
All right, let's take a look. And we're definitely going to do moonshine, right?
Yes.
We're going to get moonshine this month. I apologize. That it was just too many things happening at that time. I think of that full moon. It was just so intense.
Yeah.
It's like everything was coming out all at once, and you didn't know where to look, and you tried to manage it, but it was an unmanageable situation. So let's see if it's any more manageable now. Okay.
I think it's going to be it's an interesting new moon, because honestly, I feel like, that shift, like we've all been upgraded in some way.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. Either if you think in terms of even COVID, we've been upgraded in our immune system has been upgraded to, handle this disease. And either if you've been vaccinated or had the COVID, or even if you got micro exposed,
right,
and not vaccinated, you have some immunity. So we've all gone through an upgrade, and the next one is like right there. And it's like that feeling, that like panic, as the old stuff moves down and out and the new stuff moves in, and we're just kind of grabbing onto, okay, Well,
I often liken these upgrades, or we could call it ascension process. Ascension simply means we're at a higher state, so we have a broader understanding, a broader perspective.
Right.
And more people, I think, are reaching that level, and we're looking at the world in a very different way.
Yeah.
Even people who, excuse me, one of the neighbors with their noisy car without a muffler, it sounds like a giant is farting down the street. So that wasn't me, guys. That was a car outside. Anyway, so if we look at this chart here, this is for the US. I put it up for Washington, D.C. because we're so narcissistic here in this country. We have to know what's happening in the US. And it's interesting because we just had Biden give some debt relief for the students.
Yes.
Right? I mean, not enough. $10,000 is a drop in the bucket for some of these people who have like $200,000 worth of student debt.
Yeah. It's a good start. It's a good start.
It's like, it was like the gun legislation. It wasn't nearly enough, but at least we're rolling in the right direction.
Yeah.
And I think we have to give thanks for that.
Yeah.
I really do. And of course, I always associate Virgo with school, because it's a mutable sign, and the mutable signs are all about learning. Mm-hmm. And in Virgo, we're learning first of all, we're learning how to live in a world with other people. Virgo is the sign between Leo, which is the peak of ego, will, and then Libra, which is, there's somebody else in the room. So in Virgo, we're moving from that very sort of egocentric.
And that was when Mercury moved into Libra that day.
Yes. And
when he signs off on student loans, $10,000 student loan, a little bit this, but you know what, better than it does provide some relief. I know it does.
Yeah.
I know it does.
And again, it's the direction.
Right.
It's the direction. And where it seems like the Congress is so willing to give millionaires and billionaires breaks, but not students. They shouldn't even pay for college. They
agree.
really shouldn't even be paying for, not, at least not state, like state schools,
I totally agree.
right? Right.
Totally agree. Yeah, I
So,
totally agree. Yeah, yeah, I
so
do.
the interesting thing about this chart, of course, we have the new moon, in this case, in the second house. And if you look, it's in a very, very, very tight square.
No.
I mean, it's off by three minutes.
Mhm.
And in astrology, minutes are a distance. It's not like 3 minutes, like 3 minutes on the clock. It's 3 minutes distance. But that's very, very tight. And I think the interesting thing, of course, we talked about Mars and Gemini, right? But both Gemini and Virgo are Mercury ruled signs, right?
Yeah.
So you kind of have to look to see what Mercury's in.
And it's nice. Mercury's nice in Libra there. That's happy.
Mercury, Libra is the psychology of listening.
Yeah.
And so we need to listen to one another, which is something, well, I don't know. I mean, it's something that we could do some practice maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to pull the Sabian symbol for this. 5 degrees of Virgo. I have looked at it. I can't exactly remember what it said, but it'll come back to me as soon as I see it. So wherever that 5 degrees of Virgo falls in your chart is where we have new beginnings around fixing what's broken. And in the case of the US, we're fixing our values, like what's important to us, what's of value to us, right? And of course, with the North Node in Taurus, with Uranus there, we're being required to figure out what's important to us, what's essential.
Yeah.
Really, that's Taurus. What is essential? And we were just talking about that, right? How many rooms in your house do you use?
Right.
What do you really
Space.
need? How many clothes do you need? There's a lot of that, and people are maybe realizing that they don't. Well, I think people are realizing they don't need so many things because they can't really afford them.
Yeah.
And what's essential is food, clothing, and shelter. And a lot of people are unhoused. And that's something that we definitely have to work with and deal with in this country and anywhere. I mean, it's not just here. I mean, a third of the people from the Ukraine aren't in the Ukraine. They're all over Europe and different places. I mean, it's just such, and then the Syria, and I mean, there's just and Afghan, everybody's moving, everybody's,
Yeah.
and the more we have these catastrophes with Mother Nature,
Yeah.
the more we're going to see that, and it's going to be a very different world. It's
Very, yeah, definitely a migration, right? There's with Uranus and Taurus, there's just it's a migration. And I like that people are becoming cognizant of what is it that I really need.
Right.
I've never been one to overstep and live too much beyond my means, and I've never lived beyond my means. But I know
I've never had the ability, honestly.
I don't know how people do. I don't know how people do, but this is really a thing where people are going to think about, what is it that I really need? What is it that really matters? Like the Great Resignation, right? Like, does this job suck this bad? Right? That I would rather rent an apartment or a tiny house at the edge of a mountain than do this, wait for the next extinction event to happen and be miserable. Like, now that time is precious, right? It's not limitless. The earth time is, we're being made aware of what we really, really want to do.
What we have to do to survive. Virgo, but Uranus in Taurus, the North
Yeah.
Node in Taurus, is a survival energy. What do we need to survive climate change? What do we need to survive the political system that is just so broken? I mean, did you hear about the guy, this Federalist guy who got a $1.6 billion to, oh my God, let's not talk about that. That's too depressing for me. So the Sabian symbol, it's an interesting symbol. It says a man becoming aware of nature spirits and normally unseen spiritual agencies.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
It says the opening of new levels of consciousness.
Okay.
So that's and
Yeah.
that's really what we've been talking about. That's really what's been going on, right? So we see here that we have this very tight square to Mars in
Mhm.
Gemini, but we also have this giant square here between Venus and Saturn, which is going to be, I think, exact the next day, the 28th.
Oh, it'll be Sunday.
Saturn is going to be
Okay.
exact Sunday,
All right.
squaring Uranus and the nodes. So we have this giant square, and as the planets have been going through Leo, because we've had Saturn square the nodes and Saturn square Uranus since Saturn square Uranus 2021, since 2021.
Yeah.
Saturn square the
Remember
node
that.
since like
Mhm.
February. And it's going to continue all year. It's like Saturn squares, it's just the way Saturn is moving and where it's at,
Right.
um and so that Saturn square the node says you have to grow up. You have to grow up. And the resolution node is the past. So you have to look to the past to see like what you need to let go of, what obsessive things, what things, you're sorry, Scorpio is our desires, right? So what we feel we don't have. Scorpio is our desires because we don't
Yeah.
have them, right? You're desirous of, you're covetous of somebody's car, or you're covetous of their figure or how young they look or whatever, whatever it is that you're covetous of. That's all Scorpio stuff. And
Hmm.
Saturn in Aquarius wants to create the structures that are going to support the Aquarian ideal, right? So, and of course, there's that revolutionary part. And so we are in a huge revolutionary time. It true. And of course, if we want to look at the United States, why not? We're having a Pluto return. This is the first time
Yeah.
ever we've had a
Yeah.
Pluto return. So the soul of the United States is being exposed
Mhm.
for all the goodness that's in it and all the badness. And there's plenty of both. There's
Yeah.
plenty of both. And maybe a reorientation or a realization of the American dream that for a lot of people has become an American nightmare.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. And then it's true. When we got out of college, we got jobs where we could support ourselves, sustain our, way of living, save money, go on vacation, you
yep,
know.
yeah,
Now it's not like that.
no.
And it's sad because it doesn't push and not that they should be pushed, but it just maybe from my own kids' experience, it's like, for what? Go to college for what? You get out
Well,
and
pretty much college is debt. College equals
yeah,
debt. And it's hard to come out of a class of that kind of debt and buy a house and do all the things that you could do before.
yes,
So
yeah,
and there's a lot of people making a whole lot of money who never went to college,
right.
right?
So it's changing, right? It's not like we had to, if you were educated, you can make money, right? If you had a degree
Right.
in nursing, there were different levels of degrees. If you had a bachelor's degree, you made more money. If you had a master's degree, you made even more money. So that's how, you structured the pay scale, and you can earn a living.
Yeah.
And I had student loans too. at the end of my my 4 years. Not that much, but I was paying off student loans.
Most of the people I went to chiropractic school are still paying off their student loans 30 years later.
Yeah,
30 years later. And it wasn't even that bad back then, but still, you go to graduate school, you were looking, when I got out in 1987, you were looking, most people had at least $100,000 worth of debt.
yeah,
And then if you go to medical school or anything like that, I mean, it's
yeah, yeah.
it's really kind of difficult at
And
best.
those are things that if we have community college, or the first couple of years after high school to have some kind of idea where you want to go. If you want to go to medical school, of course there's tuition. Of course you've got to be able to support the staff and all that other stuff. But specialty colleges, yeah, but it should be free. We didn't have the internet on our phones, okay, in nursing school,
I know.
where I could just look up, neutropenic symptoms and match them to what's happening to the patient or not. I had to know that shit.
That's right. You had the book. You had the book in your library.
Right.
probably
So
still
our
do.
kids are already have access to a lot of knowing.
I know, but not the issue with that is that not all of the information is valid.
Right.
That's the other thing, because people can say stuff, doesn't mean it's true.
Yeah.
And we saw that with the vaccines, right? We saw a lot of that with the vaccines, people saying this and that and this and that about the vaccine. And then people are just willing to believe whatever aligns with their primary belief system, which, is their facts are facts. I mean,
Yeah.
there are such a thing as facts on the ground, right? And I think maybe one of the good things about Mars being in Gemini is that we're going to have to pay attention to that, right? Because Gemini is the information, it is the data.
Yeah.
It's
really, it's a neat time to kind of dive in, but it is that sort of, a lot of.
And that's what I think this new moon is going to help people too, is if you want to research something, this is a great moon for that, because you have Mars in Gemini sort of firing things up, right? Now, let me just take, we have Mars. I want to look at Mercury in 2 degrees of, because it rules both the new moon and the Mars. So I've looked at that too, but let me see if I can find it and read it, because it was very
that's interesting. So we could do like a Mercury altar.
Well, certainly there'll be mercurial things on the altar. How could we not, right? Sure. Okay, so we're looking at 2 degrees of Libra. It says the transmutation of the fruits of past experiences into the seed realizations of the forever creative spirit. The repolarization of inner energies leading to a creative centralization of consciousness. Creative centralization, that's what it speaks about. So this is really, there's a lot, what I've been noticing with the Sabian symbols, because I do them every week, with the week ahead, I'm always looking at the Sabian symbols, that most of them come up with this energy of paying attention to the natural world, natural spiritual principles,
Yeah.
And I think that that is part of the conversation. Like, my feeling is that if we want to do the whole climate change, we have to start talking to the earth. We have to start seeing what she wants us to know. She really just wants to be paid attention to. And if we don't, she'll just flood us, and it's so I
And
think
that's so widely accepted too. Everybody will say Mother Nature always wins, right? That's so like out even outside of the, astrology and metaphysics and everything, and the spirits of earth and all that. People know that you cannot mess with earth changes.
well, you can't, well, you remember, right, from the 60s, what was that? You can't fool Mother Nature. What was that? Remember
Yeah,
she had the stuff that's terrible for you, the margarine.
yes, you can't fool them.
Um, you,
Exactly.
yeah. So
Yes.
it's interesting because Virgo, Mars, Sag, Pisces, the mutable signs are connected to what we call the daemon soul in evolutionary astrology. And daemon soul is simply somebody who's connected to the earth and understands the earth. And that's the indigenous people. And the indigenous people are having their voices heard,
Yeah.
right? They're having their voices heard. Now, whether or not, I think the real challenge here is going from this consumer driven culture to a more co-creative with respect to the earth. All this extractive stuff has to
Mhm.
stop
Mhm.
because it's killing us, it's poisoning us.
Yeah.
And it's creating all these evolutionary changes.
It's got to circle back to honoring the earth the way the indigenous people honored the earth, because
Have a relationship.
it has to come back to that, where we communicated with the earth spirits and animals and things like that, complementing each other.
Right, and we have technology now. So not
Yeah.
only do we have we talk to the earth, but we can also, we have things we didn't have before. We have abilities to figure things out that because of computers and the
Mhm.
processing and stuff and the information available. Um, we're co-creative. We can change the whole program.
Mhm.
Evolution can happen like this if we just opened up to it, I think.
Yeah.
But, not everybody's in the same place. There's always going to be people who are a little further along and people who are,
Yeah.
holding things. Well, it's the nature of I mean, certainly in my lifetime, I've evolved. I
Yeah.
am not the person I was back in 1987 when I got out of chiropractic college.
Mhm.
I have a whole different perspective on things.
Yeah. Yeah. We have to.
So,
You have to. We have to change. Otherwise, and I know people that have been doing the same thing over and over in the same place, in the same building for years and years and years, and they have a bubble, right? They have a bubble around. They can't, it's just the minutia of all of every day. It just gets solid. Got to let new energies in, or right?
that's right.
We just get kind of stuck into that bubble phase. Not good. I
And
love
with
this.
Uranus and Taurus on the North Node and everything that's been going on, we can't stay in the bubble. The bubble's popped.
Yeah.
The swamp is being drained. We're seeing all the swamp monsters. We're seeing things for what they really are. And some of it's a little bit overwhelming. You're like, holy crap, is that really what's been going on?
Yeah.
But once you know, you can't unknow. I mean, you can choose. I mean, I guess you can choose to stay ignorant, or you can block things out. Right?
Mhm.
Some people will block things out, but um,
Well, and that's, and part of the listening and communicating part of this moon is, all you can do really is hold your own light, right? And you will attract people that keep
that's
that light going.
right. It's vibrational. It's always been vibrational. We just
Right.
didn't know it.
Yes.
What you think about, what you visualize in your mind's eye becomes your reality. And, you know, it's funny because there's so many times in my life where I think I have exactly what I wanted. Like if you were to ask me like 30 years ago, what would I want my life? What would I want to have in my life? I have all those things. The journey to get there was nothing like I imagined.
Right. Yeah.
Like I'm like, oh no, I didn't expect that. Like, you know, it's just like, so if we can sort of focus on that which is right in front of us, what we want to manifest in our life, right? With that energy of Mars there. And of course, with the Virgo energy, we have to look at the fact that Virgo is about improving and making adjustments, and slight adjustments. It's just like every day, make a little bit of a change. That's not gonna like, there's been so many changes of late where the rugs get pulled out from under us that sometimes we're averse to change, but you have to anyway.
Right.
This change, life is change. Change. The only, what do they say? The only thing that's really always there is change, right? So
Yeah.
the only surety in life is change. So.
Yep. Exactly.
So
well, and
what is?
it's not easy for people to change or to go neutral, you know, and Virgo is kind of tense. It's kind of like you said, a little
Anxious.
So, you know, we just got to think about taking it easy. There's upgrade.
So we have to watch our nervous system, or also our colon, because the small intestine is ruled by, so things like colitis and upset stomachs, and then of course is always connected to nerves, right?
Yeah. So what you feed yourself, bless your water, bless your food. You can bless anybody. You don't have to take it to the Pope's like door to get blessed, right? You can bless your own food.
That's right.
Just having that intention in there. I've been doing a lot with like tuning forks, because you know, all those spoons and garden dragons and using bolt cutters and stuff, I really hurt my wrist really bad. It's another thing that this new moon is asking is probably just pay attention to those things you've been ignoring about the body, especially those parts that Virgo rules, right?
Yes.
Those parts that Virgo rules.
This would be a good time to get a colonoscopy if it's your time to get one. You know, all that health stuff. Plus new health regimes with the new moon in Virgo.
Yeah.
So it's very good that way, and depends on where it is in your chart. Like in my chart, it's in my first house. So it is about my physical body. So this is a good time for me to institute that. If it's in your second house, it would be finances, organizing your finances.
Yeah.
Third house might be organizing your books, your information, make sure you have all your information at with all these terrible like floods and fires and different things, we have to just run out of the house. You have to have all those papers together. Like that's a good thing. Fourth house, if it's in the fourth house, you want to, fix all the things that are broken in your house. The fifth house, maybe you have some creative projects that you need to work on, or you have to work with your kids. Sixth house, of course, is health. Seventh house, relationship. Eighth house, taxes. Luckily, it's not in my house. So
I'm just gonna look real quick.
Not to worry right now.
Look really quick.
Ninth house may be, opening, taking a new class. This is a good time to take a class if you have that Virgo in that ninth house. Maybe it's time to take a class with me.
Yeah.
Right. 10th house, career. 11th house, friends. And 12th house, 12th house is interesting, because 12th house, we don't really ever know what's going to come up with that. But so this is a time for a real paying attention to what needs to be fixed.
Yeah.
What needs to be adjusted? What needs?
What is it that works when you fix it?
That's right. And what's causing you? What's causing you anxiety? What part of your life is causing you the most anxiety? Attend to it.
Right.
To it.
Right. And that's so easy to identify. Anybody can identify what makes you anxious that you avoid. You're like, oh no, I do not want to
I know.
I did not want to wash all of, that
Yeah.
16 area rugs this morning, but Giblets had a traveling vomit situation going on. It was like, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Well, that's interesting because that's his belly probably.
Of course it is. And the gate was closed and he couldn't go through it. And I left for 20 minutes. So he got sick upstairs. Yeah.
Ah, they do keep us on our toes, don't they?
He has the moon in Aries too.
Mm.
Yeah. He gets anxious.
Just like you.
Yeah.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
That's funny because Gretchen, my dog, my fawn German
Yeah.
Shepherd, she had her moon in Pisces, just like me. Thank
So
God. Thank God, because she had a grand cross in the fixed sign. She was the most stubborn, but we had the Pisces thing going, so I could always get there. I could always like
yeah.
convince her that I was right. But it took a lot of effort. It took a lot of effort. I'm telling you.
I had to walk my friend's dog yesterday at her house. Like, can you take out, because her husband broke some ribs, so I'm
Oh,
kind of doing a little house management so she can, get her thing done. And the dog's not listening to me. Okay, dogs doesn't care. It's hot out. I'm like, come on, Pippi, come on, we're gonna go for a walk. We need to go now. We need to go now. Would not do anything. There was a steak defrosting on the counter, and I just held it up. I picked it up. I said, Pippi, look at what I got over here. And then she got up and walked over the door,
oh
holding
my.
up the big old steak. I'm like, uh-huh.
Whatever you got to do, whatever.
Was there a song? I'm like, the dog wouldn't do anything.
Well, usually steak will usually get them to move, I think. So, you want to look at the full moon just in
Yeah,
case?
yeah,
Yeah, let's take a look at that. All right, because this is what we're going to talk about,
yeah,
right, on Moonshine, and like the idea of this is like we're talking about in the dark of the moon or in the new moon here, the
yeah,
possibilities for Moonshine. It'll be like what actually happened. So it'll
yeah,
be very interesting
yeah.
to get
There's
things.
a thread because this is going to segue, these 2 weeks will segue into full moon. And we'll be like, oh, and this is when you start to recognize these patterns and things that are happening. You're like, you can start smelling them.
So here's the full moon. It's in Pisces. This is for the US. Virgo rising, interestingly enough, we have Venus very close to where the new moon was. So that's good. Venus has been very interesting. I feel like Venus has like the magic wands this year. She's been through so much shit and she's just like going around putting fairy dust on everything and all the good stuff it's really hard to realize that there's a whole lot of good stuff happening because there's just so much of that other stuff that's like still around. But once it clears up, I think we're going to realize that we're moving in the right direction. It's just that right now everything is
Yeah.
just so.
Venus has been keeping things stable, I think. And, and it's been going back and forth. It's been erratic and she's, in Leo now, but I think that that's been something we need to honor, because I use cinnamon to control, and I think, oh, she's a stabilizing force, right? That's my connection for sure.
The
Yeah.
interesting thing about this chart, right? Because we talked about, Mars, and Mars is still square the sun here, right? There's still a square
Yeah, I
between
know.
Mars and the sun. But Mercury is stationing. You see that? It's stationing on the full moon, which means it's going to go retrograde. So that should be interesting.
That's the day it stations to go retrograde. Okay. And
Luckily, we don't have the giant square anymore because there's nothing in Leo.
And
So
Sun is trining Uranus, right?
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And Mercury's going retrograde. Okay.
It's about to go retrograde, stationing.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about that when in 2 weeks when we get back together to see what actually happened in the last 2 weeks. So we'll have to pay attention, I guess. All right. So I'm gonna just go back to looking at your beautiful face. Okay. Otherwise, your face is still beautiful, but it's only this big, and it's hard to tell.
Giblets and Pearl are having a little thing right now. You know, Giblets in his chair where he sits on Sunday morning is
His
really
throne. His throne, you mean?
his throne. It's really Pearl's chair because Pearl can monitor the pigeons. And he doesn't like this. Like they don't like each other. Pearl's got his back to him right now. Like it's such a circus. It's like, how could he not laugh at this crazy? Hey, buddy, it's okay if he sits there. Let me grab him. It's okay. It's okay. Let Pearl sit in your fun chair for today. You know, he watches the birds and they're afraid of him. They're not afraid of you. They keep poop. Okay, there you go.
There's the boy. Kids. Hello, beautiful. He is so beautiful. What a face. What a fudge. Look at those. Look at those ears.
All right, buddy. Yeah, those two never really kind of liked each other. They have to learn. I mean, they won't now. It won't matter. But there's always been a little bit of a Giblets gets bullied by Pearl, and lately it's been a lot. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like there's some activity going on.
Yeah, I've noticed
That's unusual.
my bird has been very cranky.
Okay.
Very cranky. And it's the energy. I know it's the energy.
Yeah.
And you know, we live on Main Street every day, ambulances, everyday cop cars flying down the street. It's not really a high crime area, but you know, we're close to the highway. So a lot of times that is accidents on the highway and they all come through my neighborhood to get to the highway. But it's felt very, it hasn't felt particularly safe out there, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And one of the things you can do for that is you can put protection around your house. You can put psychic protection and then fill yourself up. So what are you putting on your altar this month? What do you think?
Well, I did ask. I have a deck that's crystals and they are in the like affordable range. It's not like crazy meteorite kind of,
Amberite, yeah.
It keeps it. So I'm like, you know what? I need a couple cards for this full moon, and I'm thinking a lot about the Venus stuff that's going on. And what I got the rose quartz and malachite. I'm like, is it rose quartz and malachite season again?
I know, right?
Actually stuck together. And I cleaned them off. I used a little baking soda, but the deck was on a little bit of resin from a cartridge that leaked. And they were on there, and these two were stuck together with resin. And I thought, if that isn't like a Virgo-y tree resin, rose quartz honoring Venus, she needs a special place. I think Venus altar should probably be year round now.
Right.
And malachite, right? Malachite, the earth stone. So I'm going to do that. I wanted to get a green stone. Like you said, remember the earth is giving us clues. The other day, it rained and everything turned green. It's like green. The new moon, Virgo, is green, right? It's like, oh, okay, earth, I'll honor that, right? It's like, yeah, everything came up green again. It's like it told us what it wanted the color to be and the stones to be.
Well, and green and pink are the colors of the heart chakra, really.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And of course, rose quartz is a heart stone. The
Yeah.
malachite is actually a solar plexus stone and a heart stone.
Well, Virgo.
Right use of will. Right use of will.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm definitely we're gonna do that. I did kind of do a little sculptural thing. I'm trying to clean up my room with whatever leftover utensil ends I have and use up this bonding glue that I want to just get rid of. And
you know what I call you, right? I call you the mother of dragonflies.
yeah.
So if anybody, yes,
so I'm kind of finished up one, and I thought, just with the leftover pieces, I'll go get it. Hello, girl. Because I just kind of finished it today. It's just gonna stick in a pot. I have no room but this is how one thing leads to another. The balcony is the plants are just so crowded that I have to push them back and tie them back. So I'm going to put this in there to push the plants back and use up whatever leftover things. And it's kind of Venus-y. She's got a cool skirt on.
You know what it looks like? It looks like a scarab beetle to me.
Yeah, a scarab beetle, or I thought the emperor, because I put extra wings on it. That's pretty much what I have left over. I'm kind of done. The last couple of pieces were just whatever, because I feel kind of stuck in that creative thing right now. I need a little push because I hurt my wrist and I start to manipulate stuff and it hurts again. I'm like, I can't do this.
Right.
I can't do this, but I just want to finish it.
Unless you get one of those arc welders that just cuts everything like it's paper.
You know what? I can't do that here.
Oh, I know.
I can't do that here in the townhouse.
It's dangerous enough to have a toaster oven.
Yes. Oh, well, I did. You know, when I first moved here, I was doing some welding, and the carbon monoxide alarm went off in the garage that set off the smoke alarms. My neighbor was the fire commissioner in the Norwood Park. He didn't like me that much that day, and he's like, I can't do that here. In Tennessee, I was able to go outside and do all kinds of
yeah, here too. You could pretty much, as long as you have like a space and
yeah. So I stopped. I put the gun away. I put the soldering the welding gun. I'm like, I can't do it anymore. And it was starting to bother my hands anyway.
And the hands are Gemini.
Yeah.
So that's another area.
Right.
And shoulders.
Yes.
That's all Gemini.
Right. So all this stuff.
All the stuff we need to do to nurture our lungs, our nervous system, make sure we're getting good sleep. Oh, that's going to be important.
Yeah.
At this time. All right. Well, that was fun. That was very Virgo, don't you think? We were very understated and very medical and very problem solving. All very Virgo things. Unlike when it was in Gemini and we couldn't stop talking, or when it was in Leo and we were just being dramatic. You can feel the difference. You can feel the difference in the energies, and it's a nice change. I'm just waiting for things to cool down now, and then I'll be happy.
And you know what? When you follow the series, you see how the moon, how the energies affect just the way you articulate, the way, we were like, whoo, it does affect you constantly.
Yes,
it really does.
Yeah, and it's helpful to know what is up, because then when things happen, you're like, oh yeah, okay.
It's helpful to know what's up because it will pass.
Well, there's that too.
It will pass. It's not enough for somebody to say, this will pass. This too shall pass. It's not enough. Right. I want to see it in the sky. I want to know, and it is. I have confidence now that when things are tough, it will just pass. It'll shift. It'll, things will move. Trust. You've got to have trust in that.
Yes. And focus on what it is you want to create in your life.
Yeah.
Just be happy and do your thing and shine your light. And if it's making art out of spoons or or it's cleaning off my desk, which I'm not sure that's gonna, that's very creative, but we'll do something. We'll do something.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this has been a real pleasure as always, Ona. We'll see you in 2 weeks for Moonshine. Woo.
Yep.
And until then, I see you every morning.
Yes.
You see me every morning.
Yep. Yep.
Awesome. Okay, honey, you take care.
Thank you so
Everybody,
much.
be safe. Take care of yourselves. You are your greatest resource. Don't forget that. Take care, everyone. Namaste.
Bye-bye, guys.